Howdy everybody, this is Shenanadoodles here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a Halo Elite soldier. This is the second version of the pattern, and possibly going to be the final piece of it. This took me roughly about 40 minutes to an hour to make, improvising the entire pattern of it, but it should take roughly 30 minutes or less, if done correctly and quick enough. But I think it turned out pretty alright. It pretty much captures everything that you need to see for an elite in like the simplest way, in the smallest form. So it's kind of complicated to its degree, but I think it's good enough for the size of it. To get started, what we're going to need is our colors. So for the skin, we're going to be needing gray. It doesn't matter what kind of gray, I just would prefer something a little bit of a darker gray like this, if not darker. For the eyes, you're going to need a form of yellow, since the species of elites technically have yellow eyes. For the armor, it doesn't matter what color of you want to use for the armor, but I prefer to use the blue since that's the common one for the elites. And for the detailing, you are going to need some black. And for the tools, you're of course going to need your needle or your hook. This one is 3.75 millimeters. I don't know if you can really see that on there. You're going to need your scissors, and you're going to need a needle, and of course some stuffing. So let's go ahead and get started. So for the first part of this, what we are going to do is start off with a magic circle and make 6 stitches around it. So if you don't know how to do a magic circle, I'll show you right here real quick. You're going to just take the yarn and wrap it around your you take the yarn and wrap it around your finger like this, so you have kind of like an X in the front where this string that you're holding onto overlaps the edge, and you have 2 lines coming out from the index finger like that. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take your hook, go underneath this first string right here, you're going to go underneath, and then you're going to grab this one and pull it through like that until you have a little loop, and then you can let go of you can pull your finger out of it, and then you can just do a stitch, pull some yarn through the hole, and then just seal it by giving a little bit of a tug, and then you have a bit of a magic circle right there. And what you're going to do is pretty much just crochet 6 stitches inside of it, and by doing that you're just going to go underneath, grab the yarn, pull, grab the yarn again, and pull through both loops, and then you have 1. And you're just going to do that 5 more times. So here's another attempt. 2 right there, over, through, underneath, over, through, like that. And you just do that 3 more times. Okay. So once you have your 6 loops, you could go ahead and pull the little extra string right here till the circle closes up like that. And once you do that, you're going to take your hook and go into the very first stitch that you see right here. You're going to go through both of the loops and poke it through the other side like that. You can give the string a little bit of a tug so that it closes right there. And you're going to take the yarn, or I'll mention this, before you take the yarn, you're going to want to take this extra yarn and start weaving it into the stitch. And in order to do that, it's just simple. You just take it and pull it over the loop like that. Once again, just over the hook. And then you're going to continue with the stitching. So you're going to go underneath the stitch and just pull it through like that. And then you're going to, make sure this doesn't slip underneath. And then you're just going to pull it through both, just like that. There you go. And you can just pull on that extra string right there so that the circle is a little bit tighter, because you don't want any of the stuffing falling out. And you're going to go back into that same stitch that you just went through and do another single stitch. Once again, making sure that this yarn is over the hook when you crochet. Just like that. So now there should be 2 in 1. It's a little hard to see because of the lighting, but there are 2 stitches in one spot. So you're going to basically do this twice in every stitch until you come back all the way around. If it will help you, you can also have a little pin and you can just mark where that first stitch was, which was, for me, it was this one right here. So what you're going to go ahead and do is just put it in right there and then just mark it. Now, if you don't have to do this, but it just helps in case you forget where you're in case you forget. But for me, I don't usually do this, but for this tutorial, I'll just keep it on there. And pretty much you're going to want to copy that all the way around until you come back right here. And when you're right about at the pin, you want 12 stitches all together all the way around. Okay, so here we have 12, what looks to be 12, but you can always just make sure by counting. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, so this is what 12 stitches would look like all the way around. And what you need to do, you can go ahead and just remove the stitch or the little pin, and then you're going to do one single stitch inside the next row right here, just like that. Now for the next, this is going to be row 3, and I forgot to mention this, but this was row 1 right here when we first started, and the row that we just finished was row 2. So this is row 3. So for row 3, we're going to go into the next. We started off with one single stitch, and then we're going to go into the next stitch right here, and do a double single crochet into one. So that was 1, and then 2. Once again, we're going to go into the next spot right here, but we're only going to do 1, and then 2 in the next one. And once you're done with this row, you should have 18 stitches all the way around. So I'll meet you when you're there. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a look just to be sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. All right, so this is 18 stitches altogether. Now for row 4, we are actually going to be doing single stitches all the way around, but we're going to start with 3 single stitches with the blue. 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to stop right here with the blue, and what I'm going to show you what to do next is to switch out the color to the gray. So you're going to pull out some of the blue right here, and it's a little tricky to see, but you have 2 of the 2 stitches coming out right here. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your hook, go right in between those, so right into the both loops like that, and you want to make sure it's on the opposite side of where the string is coming from. You want it to be on the back of it, just like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our gray, and we're going to make a little, we're just going to lay it over the hook just like this. Oops. And you're going to take that loop and just pull it through that spot, so you have a nice little loop right here with the gray. Then we're going to leave that there for a moment, but we're going to go right back to the blue. We are going to go ahead and do 7 stitches, single stitches all the way through, but the way we're going to do it is we're actually going to be going onto the back loop right here on 7 stitches. So make sure whenever you pull it through, you're not going through both, you're going through just the one right here. And then you're going to count 7 stitches. So that's 1, once again through the middle, 2, middle, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. just like that. And then with the gray, what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and go through the back side of those same stitches that you just made. So you can kind of see a little bit of a ridge right here that was made. You want to go into each of those. So this is the first one right here that I'm poking into. So this would be one. And to ensure that the string actually doesn't come undone, we're going to lock it in place by doing the same method that we did with the blue, by taking the gray, looping it over the hook while we make that single stitch. So that's one, and we're going to do this 7 more times just like before. So 1, oops, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So now we have 2 loops, just like that. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take the hook and go back into the blue, but also through the gray. Most people don't do this method. I prefer this because it saves on cutting the yarn and just keeps it as one continuous string in case you mess up. You can always just undo it without having to waste parts or waste material. So give them both a nice decent tug so that they're aligned. And then you're going to want to go into this next stitch with the blue. And to do this, you're going to go through both of the you're going to go through both of the loops and pull with the blue and go through the same stitch as usual through both loops and give the gray a nice tug so that way it kind of just disappears into the blue. And then we're going to single stitch all the way across until we make it to right here on this little spot. Okay, so once we single stitched all the way across, we are right here on this stitch. What we're going to do is we're going to go on the back side, not through both, but through the back side right here. And we're going to make a partially finished stitch like this. Move the blue aside and grab the gray. And make sure you have a little bit of some in the side so that kind of gives it a little bit of a gap so it's not causing it to jumble up like this from the tightness. You just want some in the space. Make sure that the blues give it a nice tug so that way it doesn't be loose. So you want it like this. And then you're going to go 7 stitches all the way around with the gray once again. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right. Now, whoops, I actually forgot to mention. So we're not going to finish the last stitch. We are actually going to, right about when we're here, we're actually going to replace it with the blue and do the same thing as before. Make sure there's some left over inside so it doesn't cause tightness or tension. Make sure you give this a nice little pull so that the gray stays in place. And then you're going to go through this, kind of the same thing you did on this stitch right here. You're going to do it right here. So on that 7th stitch right there, you are going, or the 8th stitch technically, you're going to push through the top right here. And you're also going to push through the gray that's underneath. You're going to push through all 3 of those layers so you get to the other side like that. And then you're going to finish that stitch. Just like that. And it kind of gives a nice smooth look. Then we're going to go all the way around again, single stitches. Alrighty, so now we are back here. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to go through the first loop right here as we normally would with the blue. All the way. And then we're going to do 2 stitches right here so that way it will pretty much make this. We're trying to make 3 gray stitches only in the middle. And we're going to transition these into the blue. So in order to do that, what we're going to do, it's a little tricky, but we're going to go into the first stitch, the blue right here. We're going to go through the gray. We're going to drop the blue for a second, grab the gray, and feed it through right there. So we have blue and gray, but we're going to finish with the blue instead. And then make sure that the gray is given a nice tug so that way looks like that. And we're going to do this kind of the same thing right here, but we're actually going to finish with the gray. So we'll grab the gray, pull it through, blue, gray, finish with the gray. Like that. That way it looks pretty smooth. Then we're going to just do 3 single stitches with the gray. But we're not going to finish that last one. Instead, we're going to swap it to the blue. And then do this pretty much the same thing as we did before, but on this side. So we're going to go into the gray with the blue right here, swap to the gray, pull it through, finish with the blue, like that. Go into the next one with the gray, and then end it with the blue. And then on that last stitch, we'll just finish with the blue. And there we go. See? Nice, clean switch. I like this method a lot. It looks really clean. And it helps give a better picture as to what's going on, personally. So after we're done with that, we're going to do one more normal single stitch like this. Then we're going to start decreasing it by 1. And what that means is we're actually going to go, if you don't know how to decrease, I'll show you how. We're going to go into the first stitch right here. We're going to break it right through the middle like that. And onto the next stitch, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go through the middle. So you have 3 loops right there, but then you're going to grab the string and then pull it through both. So you have it like that. And then just do a normal stitch. It's considered an invisible decrease, but you can visibly see it. I don't know why. But then after that's done, you're going to do a single stitch and then an invisible decrease. So through the middle on the 2 stitches, pull them through and single stitch, a single stitch again. You should only need to do 1 more invisible stitch, and then single. Now you can kind of start seeing it kind of curve inward a little bit more. But what we're going to do right here is we're actually going to work on the little mandibles, like the little weird mouth pieces. So in order to do that, we're going to do 1 regular stitch right here into that next one. Just 1 regular stitch. If I can get it through. Like this. And then we're going to count to 4. We're going to do 4 chains like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And on the back side of the loops, so here's the front chains. On the back side of those, you're going to go into each of those. So right there is 1. And you're just going to push through and do a slip stitch, which looks like this. You take the yarn, just pull it through here, and then you pull it through that same loop. There you go. And you're just going to do that 2 more times on the back of each chain. It is a little tricky, but just be mindful of that. So once we have that, we're going to do 3 more chains. 1, 2, 3. And then once again on the back side. Right here. Here. And when we have the 2, what we're actually going to do the last one is in that little gap right here. It's a little hard to see, but that right where my finger is pointing, that right there. We're going to go into that stitch and then do a slip. And once that's done, we're going to do a slip stitch right into that same stitch where we started, this one right here. Just like that. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to start creating a little bit of a mouth, or like we're going to stop the mouth pretty much. So this is as far as the face goes, but in order to kind of fully close it, what we're actually going to have to do is do the outside stitches right here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So right on this one right here, we're going to just do a partial stitch, but through the middle on the outside right there. So we're going to take the blue, pull it through, and swap to our gray. One second. Just like that. And then with the gray, we're actually going to do slip stitches through the 3 grays right here. So that looks like through the middle right here, like that. Pull it through again. Now this last one, we are going to actually swap to the blue right before we finish that last one. One second. And then finish it like that. Then we're going to do the same thing what we did with the blue, but on the outside stitch right here. Give me 1 second. Make sure, again, the strings aren't tight inside of it. You want them pretty loose. We're going to do a slip or single crochet till you get something like that with the front. Kind of looks like it's mouth-ish. And then we're going to do one more stitch into the next one, a single. And we're going to repeat the mandible from this side onto this side. And it's pretty much the same pattern. So we're going to start once again with 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go into the back side of each chain and do a slip stitch. So 1, 2, and 3. And then chain 2, 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry, chain 3, 1, 2, and then on that last loop right here, 3. And then we're going to slip stitch one more time into that same stitch. Right there. So now we have technically the mandibles done. They will be put in place in just a moment, but that's pretty much the face. Then, pretty much at this point, we're done with the gray, so we don't technically need it. So you can cut it if you want to, but it's totally up to you. I won't cut it just yet. So then after we're done with that, we're going to do one more single stitch right here. And then we're going to start doing decreases all the way around. So decrease right here. Once again, decrease right there. There we go. So now we're going to just do a single stitch into this little spot right here. And we're actually going to drag, we're going to give it a little bit of a pull this way. And remember when we did the stitches on the back side of this? Well, we're going to open that up. And it's a little hard to get to because of all the string in the front right here. But what you're going to want to do is kind of pull those aside. And you see right there, right about here, where we did this stitch, you're going to want to crochet into that spot right there. So do a single and make sure that the string is tight and the mandibles stay in one place. So that's 1. And we did 5. So we did 5 on the outside right here. So that means that there's 5 on the inside that we have to do. So that was 1 blue. Here's the gray. You can do it, flip it inside. Make sure that these are just inside and you're doing it on the outside part. Maybe just 1 second. It is a pain to get into, so just be mindful of that. Where is it? Okay, yep. So right here is the next one. 2. 3. There should be one more gray right here. 4. And then one last blue somewhere right here. Here it is. 5. There we go. So we have 5 blue on the outside, and pretty much when we finish it, the project, these are actually going to be tucked inside, so you won't really see it. So it's just going to look like that pretty much. But once we're done with that, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go back to this stitch right here, right where the mandibles are, and just do a single stitch right there. Get those back onto the surface spot. There we go, like that. Now we're going to continue to do single stitches until we make it to the end right here. So one more right here, and one right here. Like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 stitches left over in the center. So right about this point is when I usually cut the gray, because it's already locked in and it's not needed anymore. So we can go ahead and cut that. These scissors are kind of bad. All right, there we go. You can just tuck it in. Now we're gonna need quite a bit of the blue. So, and by a lot, I mean probably close to an arm's length, because we're going to be using the rest of the blue for detailing and the armor pieces. And I know that seems a bit excessive to have that much. You probably don't need almost an arm's length's worth of it, but it's best to have extra than not enough. So probably say just about that much of yarn, or even less. However much you feel is necessary, because you do need quite a bit for this part coming up. All right. So once we're about right here, you can kind of just stick your finger in there just to make sure it's all looking good. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and start stuffing it. And when you stuff something, you kind of just want to make sure you do it in small pieces and make sure it's spread out so that it kind of all coats everything inside evenly. So just take it by small clumps, stuff it. You don't want to overstuff it. I tend to have the tendency to do that. It's a kind of a habit, but don't overstuff it. About that much should be enough. Because if you overstuff it, a lot of the yarn can come out and it looks like a mess. There we go, like that. That should be plenty. And then once that's done, what we're going to do is start sealing it, and we're going to need our needle for that. So with the yarn, we're going to go ahead, get it through the needle. And you're pretty much going to be using the needle pretty much throughout the rest of the project. And in order to properly seal it, you just want to make sure that you're going on the outside of each stitch right there. So for this one, we're going to go through here. And when you go inside out one, you want to go, or when you go inside, you want to go outside right after to the next one, like that. Oops. Same thing in the interior right here. Out. In, out, and you want to make sure that you end on the inside. So that was inside, outside, and one last inside right in here. So, and you give it a nice little tug. It closes perfectly even, just like that. And now you kind of have the structure of the face. So, yay. And make sure you just try out just cleaning up a little bit. Now, this is what we have. And with the mandibles, if you can see, kind of one of them is longer than the other one. The one that's bigger stays at the bottom. So in order to make sure that happens, you can stretch them out too. It doesn't really matter which way it goes, just as long as they look even and are put in properly. Or like that. So with the needle, what we're going to do is we're actually going to go through, once we give it a nice tug, we can make a knot just to ensure that this doesn't come undone right here. So pull it through one end, make sure you have a loop right here. Just a small loop like that. It doesn't need to be too big. And then just feed it through, and then it will close up and stay tight. Just like that. No yarn is going to come out. Now, with this, what we're going to do is we're going to take our yarn and we're going to go through the center point, but we're going to want to take it and stick it out right about here, right where my finger is going to come out. You want it to poke right about there. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the mandibles and stitch them into place. So once they're right here, you're going to want to rotate the mandible so that way it actually faces interior to the face. So right about here, right in between the two, you're going to want to stick it right into that stitch. And it causes it to lift up like that. And then we're going to stick it to the pretty much the farthest. We're going to stick it to like close to the second stitch right here on the top one. Right about there. Pull it all the way through. You're going to want to go into this, pretty much it almost looks like the same part of the stitch. You're going to pretty much go right in through there. And then out to the other side. Right about there. There we go, see? Kind of forms into place. And then do the same, pretty much do the same thing as you did on here, but just on the other mandible. Just gotta find the midpoint right here. And back to the same stitch. So right about here, this is about this is gonna finish up for the mandibles, but what we're gonna need to do next is like the shield pieces or like the armor plates. So we're gonna take this once we're done and push it up right about to not this stitch, but this stitch, the one next to it, right about there. You want it kind of aligned with the actual headpiece or the shield right up here. You're just gonna take it and push it up through there. There we go. And then you can, once you do that, you can kind of move around the mandibles as you please. But yeah, they look like they're in place. Comparing it to the mandibles right here, the face will get, this face is a lot more narrow than this one, but that's because this one actually has strings attached that are causing it to squish together. So that will be coming here shortly, but right now they look pretty aligned, right where they need to be. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. And yeah, that's the mandibles right there. Next thing we're going to do is the top shield piece right here. Kind of make it look like it's extending outwards. So we can go ahead and just kind of loosen up on the needle right here. And we're going to need our hook back for this one. So for this is a little tricky, I will say. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be crocheting pretty much all the way through the top right here. But there's a pattern to it, and I'll show you how to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our hook, pretty much go right into the same hole that the yarn is coming out from, but going to poke it through the next stitch right here, right out through the other one. and then just take the yarn and feed it through there, so that way you can form a loop. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go into the next stitch above that one right here and just do a basic single stitch like that. And then we're going to do a double half stitch onto the next one right here, which pretty much, if you don't know what a double half stitch is, let me actually show you real quick. A double half stitch, you just pretty much do the same approach as you would for like a single, but you have a loop over the top, and when you go and put a stitch in, what you do, you grab the yarn and you have 3 loops, but you just take the yarn and you just pull through all 3, just like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a double stitch right into that same spot. So take a loop, go into the same holes that you did before, which was, one second, yeah, which was right here, and we're going to do a double. So instead of going through all 3, we're going to go through the first 2 with the loop like that, and then with the last 2 like that, until it forms a double. And then we're going to go into the next stitch right here with triple stitch, meaning so we're going to have pretty much 3, we're going to loop around our hook 2 times, so like this, 1, 2. Then we're going to go into the back stitch right here, and you kind of want to make sure it's following the same trajectory, a straight line all the way through. And for this one, for the triple, we're going to loop through the first 2 right here like this, the next 2 like this, if it will be nice and let me, like this, and through the last 2 like that. Now we're going to do it one more time through that same one right here, once again through the first 2, through the first 2, and through the last 2. So we have something like that. Then we're going to make a little bit of a point, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to first make a chain, just do 1 chain like that. And if you see right here where the one second, if you see right there where those 2 stitches are, you're going to want to go through the middle of those, but just poke it through like that, grab the yarn and pull through the first one, pull it through, and then do another chain like that. And I'm actually starting to run out of the blue, so I'm not sure if I'm going to have enough, but we'll see. So after we're done with that, what we're going to do is do the same thing that we did on this side, but on the other side. So we're going to do a triple stitch or a double stitch right here, and then another double to that same spot, and then we're going to, oh wait, actually I'm wrong, I'm sorry, it's not a triple, or it's not a double, it's just a double half. So into that same spot right here, that, and then we're going to finish it off with what looks to be a regular stitch, and then we're going to go ahead onto the last stitch right here, just do a simple slip stitch. Right about like that. Now for me, I'm running out of the blue. That was a mistake on my end. So I'm just going to end it right here, but we're not done yet. So just like that. Takes a second to mess with the yarn so that it actually stays in place and holds its shape. Just like that. Yep. You can mess with it more. It's going to take a proper form later on. It's gonna actually look like it's supposed to. But for me, I ran out of blue. And yeah, that's the top of it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the excess yarn right here and just feed it in here. If you happen to make the same mistake, you can always just grab some more blue, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. Because the last thing we have like maybe 2 little things left to finish for the blue, so we're done. Just kind of give it a nice massage. There we go. And eventually you'll just start to kind of like dull and curve a little bit into this shape, just like how I did with this one right here. But it'll do that on its own. So next part is the thing that we're going to be working on next is the little visors, or like the little spikes on the sides right here. If you can see those ones. And let me go ahead and show you what to do next with those ones. Since I ran out of the blue, you wouldn't need to make this mistake, but I'll show you in case you did. You'll just go ahead and make a simple slip stitch like this. You're going to just take that yarn, make sure it's about a small little loop, and then you're going to go underneath everything. So right about here. You can just kind of blue ball it. It doesn't need to be perfect. You can just guess where it's going to sit. And you can just drag it through that loop. And then you're going to go kind of like in an angle with it. So right about right here, you're going to want to go into the next stitch right here. Just do a simple single stitch. And then you're going to want to do a double half into that same spot. And then you're going to want to do a chain and go into the next stitch, which is kind of following the path right here. And then just do simple single stitch and then chain. Oh, not chain, I'm sorry. You're going to want to do just a slip stitch, and then you're going to want to feed it through that same hole, but I'm just going to grab a little bit extra more yarn, because once we're done with the blue, we don't need it anymore, so I don't need a terrible amount more. But because of this little extra right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shove that back into the project right about here. And you can do the same thing too if you made this mistake. Like that. And then pull it through. Make sure it sits nice and tight. There we go. And just clip the rest. Oops. Just like that. And then take the you're going to take the needle, go through the same spot as you did before, and you're going to want to kind of end up as the same spot as last time. You want to keep it even. So right about where it's aligned right here, just copy that over to the other side. There we go. And it'll hold its structure pretty well, see? It'll hold just fine. All right, then we're going to do the same thing as before. Go through the other side, pull the yarn through, do a simple stitch, yarn over, double half, do a single chain, and then do a single stitch, and then just a slip stitch. or just, yeah, just a slip chain right there, and then give it a nice tug like that, and then you're going to stuff it into the head. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. You're going to go into the stitch before it. Oh. No, I was right. Okay. I'll edit this part out. There we go. So now that we have the helmet technically done, we're going to go ahead and work on the facial features. So what we're going to do next is we're going to grab our black. So with the black, we're not going to do too much with the black, honestly. We're just going to be giving it an outline, and we're going to be putting the keychain piece on. But, you know, it's still pretty integral to the overall features. Alright, so once you have it onto the needle, we're going to go onto the back side of the loop right here, right about in the back of the gray. And you're going to want to pull this gray back a little bit, and you're going to want to go right into that open gap, right till it pokes out right there. And you're going to want just a decent amount of it. Don't make the same mistake I did before without having enough. So with this, we're going to go into right where the blue stops, right on this face right here. Pull it, and we're going to go out through the same side right here. Right there. And then just give it a nice little tug until it creates a nice little outline with the black. And with the blue, or I'm sorry, with the black, we're going to go into the next stitch right here on the gray, or yeah, right where that gray is right here. And then we're going to go back into that same stitch right here and just give it a nice little tug until you see it nice covered up right there. And we're going to do the same thing on this side right here. But this time we're going to go up right here where the black is coming out, same spot. Right about there. Give it a nice tug so it holds its shape like that. And then we're going to go down to that same stitch right here and up through the top of the hole right here, pretty much right the center of it all. Give it a nice little tug. As you can see, when you pull it, it kind of starts to give the face its slenderish look. And then you're going to want a little bit of some extra of this because you want the keychain part. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back through the center and we're going to go through the bottom. So right about this hole right here. Right there. Right through the center. Close to the center at least. You want it right behind it. And so you can have as much of the yarn as you want. You just need enough so that it can loop around so you can lock it in place. So about that much at least. And then you're going to want to go straight through the bottom again like that. For a reason. Because it needs to be pulling on it. And then just right throughout the same spot where the black, where you came out with the black. And then you can go ahead and cut the rest off. Like that. And then we'll give it a nice knot. Takes a second to get it in. Hold on. There we go. Then, where's the, there it is. You just take the needle, find where it's at, where it started, poke it through, pull it through one ope, and then just take the two strings, kind of intertwine them a little bit. This is just one way of how I do it. Just intertwine them. They will cooperate with me. There we go. And then give it a nice tug so it pokes out through the top. And then just stuff it in. I'm not worried about cutting it. Just push it right back through. There we go. So now there's the head, there's some of the features, and the head is slenderish like it's supposed to be. All that's left is the eyes. I don't know why I forgot for a second, but I did. So with the yellow, we're done with the black. With the yellow now, we really do not need a lot. At best, we probably just need like that. Less than that. But what we're going to do, we're going to go through the needle. And then go through, pretty much you want to go through pretty much like in between the black and gray. At least a gap. So right about here. And you want to align right where it will pop out from the other side, which is about right there. And get, whoops, that came undone. Oh, and I'm dropping everything. You can cut it. Because once again, we probably only need, once this goes through, yeah, we probably only need like this much. And then we're going to go and skip a side. We're going to go into the next stitch right there. We're going to do the same thing on the other side right here. And before we go into the next stitch, we're going to make a nice decent loop or knot just so it holds its form. We can grab it. There we go. And then once the knot is nice and secured, we're going to go back into the loop through one side. Make sure we got plenty of it. And then pull through. Now I pulled it a little too tight, so now I gotta kind of fish out the eyes. There we go. They don't need to be too big, just visible. There we go. And then we can trim up some of the extra and just stuff it back in. There we are. Now we have an Elite. Pretty standard, not too difficult. Hopefully I made it simple. Can't count on that entirely, but yeah, now we have an Elite. So hopefully this video was kind of easy to follow through. Hopefully, I mean, I can't count on that entirely, but hope you guys enjoyed this video. I have plenty more coming on the way here soon. Yeah, I know it's been a minute since I last posted, but I've just been a little busy with stuff. So hopefully you all can understand that. And yeah, hope you all have a good day. And I will see you on the next one. If you guys have any ideas on what I should make next, go ahead and just let me know in the comments. So you all have a good one.